A very warm welcome to everyone present with us today. This is our 12th webinar in the Perfect Recipe for Retiring Rich series. This time we have come up with a very interesting topic, how to read a stock market crash, wherein we will be discussing the major economic indicators and their relation to the stock market. Many of you have attended our earlier sessions. To introduce ourselves to those who are attending for the first time, we are a Mauritius-based financial advisory firm regulated by FSC in Mauritius. We are one of the few global fund management firms that mainly work on a performance fee basis. Bhuvan is the CEO and founder who has 13 years of wealth management and advisory experience. Our 2020 net weighted average returns were 36%, and this year we are at 28% net of all fixed fees. We manage USD $25 million under Client First Capital in Mauritius. We mainly manage the founder's portfolio strategy, where we invest only in a handful of well-established companies across various industries. Our 70% liquid net worth is also invested in the same strategy that we offer to our clients, so we have a major skin in the game. We do monthly educational webinars, and our core aim is to help investors to not lose money in the stock market. Before we get started, I'm requesting all the participants to mute their mics. Please post your queries in the chat box, and Bhuvan shall answer them either during the webinar or towards the end. Once again, we welcome you all. Over to you, Bhuvan.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all of you for coming all the way to attend this webinar series. More than you, we learn. So today's webinar is basically focused on what will happen in the stock market next. I'm sure all of us do not want to lose money. We have made a lot of money. This is not only us. I'm sure everyone here who has been in the market for last 2.5 years have really made a lot of money. And some of them are really very fearful. One thing I want to tell you that we are absolutely not fearful. And I think this is the best way to make money in the stock market. You have to agree that you will not go right all the time, and there will be a point when you will also see 20-30% downside on the stocks, and a good portfolio approach will only help you. This webinar is purely educational. It doesn't mean that we know when the stock market will crash. It doesn't mean that we are in cash right now. We are fully invested. This webinar is also absolutely educational and not promotional. We are not going to talk anything about our product features, etc. We believe that when you ask questions to us, we learn. A lot of people have registered for this webinar. More than 50 people have registered, and I can see that there's an anxiety, and every day people are asking a question that, Bhuvanji, if we'll invest today, how are you sure that we will make money? So I will recommend and request to all of you that if you still have that query in your mind that today if I invest in the high of in the market, how will I make money? There is a simple Excel sheet which we run with all of you or people who have met you for the first meeting. It is absolutely non-obligatory. If you get time, write to us. We'll do just a Zoom meeting with you in 20-30 minutes. We will show you whether market is at high or whether market is at ultra high or low. You're gonna make between 10 to 20% annual compound return if you are in a good company in a good portfolio. So this webinar is also not our original work. I am also following and reading the great investors who have sailed through very well in the period of recession, the period of economic contraction and inflationary and the deflationary pressures. So this webinar is a work of my reading, which I do. Now, let me tell you in one line, stock market is not crashing as per my reading, at least for the next 3 months. So this is a good news, which I want to give it to you. Now, there could be a war scenario. There could be a lot of sanctions coming here and there, which is always possible. Coming to, let's touch upon the Evergrande debt crisis, which some of you have sent me a message also. I will tell you a very simple thing. This is not the time to be in the bond market. I'm sure you saw that 3 governments have already increased, like Brazil and Norway have already increased the interest rates. and later on, and sooner or later, other government will also increase the interest rates. When the interest rate goes up, bond prices, let me ask you, I think let some of you, if you would like to speak, let's make it more conversational, because the fear will only recede when you will participate. So when the interest rate goes up, bond prices, any one of you, please feel free to participate.
Bond
Hello.
prices will go down.
Thank you. So if you are in the bond right now, you know the answer, and it does not come from me. It has come from one of the respected person here who is who understand investments maybe more than me as well. So what I'm trying to tell you, that if you are in the bond market right now, bond is absolutely a crazy bubble, and once the Fed will pull the plug, you will see mayhem in the market. And some of these wrappers are internally leveraged, where leverage recourse is not on you. So they will not come to you asking for margin money, but they will definitely book losses for you. And you have to make, let's say, 6 or 7%, you might lose 30 to 40% of your capital. So that's why I've been requesting people to be away from debt. Any kind of debt is problematic, whether it is in the bonds, whether it is in the business, whether it is inside the company. So if you have a stock which is highly leveraged, like Evergrande, if you would have bought the stock also, you would have been losing big time. But let's say you have a stock which has got no debt and it is 50% uh, corrected today, you're still in very, very safe hands. The only challenge with the stock investors are they are not ready to hold on for 5 to 10 years. Let's move on to our topic. What I'm going to tell you, why market is not going to, should not crash, and why I'm sticking to that theory. So let's move forward to the presentation. So we have three offices, as rightly told to you, one in India, one in Mauritius, one in Dubai. We have a vision of becoming a global startup. We would like to reduce the wealth gap in the society. So after working in Ragbank for roughly 8 years, I have realized one thing, that customer is king, and nobody is talking about customer. Everybody is talking about the product and the big sharks. So I feel that somewhere I'm not able to be honest with you when I come and say that please buy this product. Somewhere back in your mind, the target is always there. There is nothing bad with the target, but the issue is you will make money in 5 to 10 years. Bank will make the commission right away. They will not pass on the regular income. Why I will service you? If you make 5%, I will eventually come to you and churn the product. And that's essentially happening. So the whole model has a problem. It is nothing against anybody. I'm talking about the me as a banker itself. Now, we had a vision that customer comes first, and this line we when we read about Warren Buffett and Peter Lynch, we found our guru, we found our mentor, that this line can also give you a lot of money, and even clients are also happy. And these people are like, they're very much into themselves, they read a lot, and they never lie to you because they don't make a single penny on back of you. So today, whatever we make from you as an investment manager or advisor, it's all transparent to you. So that gives you a great transparency that this person has a lot to lose if he is giving the wrong advice. So example, last 10 days, leaving the last week, the last to last week, we would have lost 2 to 3 million dollars in the stock market when it went down. And then I think Fed meeting happened, and the last 2 to 3 last two, I think last 1 week, we're up by $2 million. So the whole point which I'm trying to draw is that this is part of life. 5 to 10% downside is part of life when you have 50 to 70% upside. And that is what the challenge is, and there what we are not able to stay in the game. Now we also want to create a lot of HNI. So there are a lot of people who are serving billionaires. Everybody wants to knock the door of a billionaire. But how many of are here who want to take small amount and want to grow that amount to a million or 2 million? So we have a lot of senior employees who have given us retirement funds, and they want us to manage that for them. So we also take decisions very responsibly. We don't do trading. We do not buy bitcoins because we have people's retirement money. And I'm sure after 5 years, even if I give them the initial principal back, they will not take it as an offense. But what they will never like is after 5 years, I'm giving them 20 or 30% of their principal. So the first principle of Warren Buffett was very simple: don't lose the money. And the second rule is don't forget the first rule. It took a lot of time for me to understand. So this rule says that not only you invest in a great companies with a good price, it also says you should not invest into the assets which cannot beat the inflation. So let's say, for example, property, let's example gold, let's example fixed deposit, which cannot beat the inflation. Both come into this particular rule. There might be a possibility that you will not make money for 1 or 2 years because market has a nature of high liquidity and volatility, but that doesn't mean that you should not invest in the stock market. Now, as a part of the educational series, this is the 12th one, 11th series we have done, or Dr. Vijay Kedia webinar. That was, I think, all well received. It is available on YouTube to you to see. He is such a simple guy who has explained how he invests, and Bhagavad Gita is the book he said for all of us to read. So I'm sure somewhere a true wealth comes from the spirituality, and a lot of rich people I know, they are very spiritual. So this should motivate all of us to look beyond our materialistic life to create a lot of wealth in the stock market. Benjamin Graham, who is the guru of Warren Buffett, who has written 2 books, Security Analysis and The Intelligent Investor. I will recommend all of you and your children to read these books, because these books have spoken about all the instruments in very detailed manner. In fact, Benjamin Graham has said that bond is no security against the volatility, because when the market will fall, bond will also fall like a pack of cards. So that's what he has mentioned in his book. Warren Buffett, who is called Oracle of Omaha, 90 years plus. I think he's elder than all of us here, because some of you will think I am a young guy and you have a quite experienced in the business. But I am telling you, I'm not telling you what even one iota of what I know of. I'm telling you what these people have spoken about. I'm just presenting that to you today. So he's called Oracle of Omaha. He has run this company called Berkshire Hathaway. He has operated from a small city. So that also is a very good thing, that you don't have to be in a DIFC or a New York Stock Exchange or Wall Street to make money. You can make money from anywhere in the world if you understand how investments work. One second. Yeah. Charlie Munger, he's even more wiser. I still have to read a lot about him. He has run the operations of all the Warren Buffett conglomerate. He is 94 plus, and he's the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. A very good guy in terms of wisdom. He has written a book, Almanac of Charlie Munger. I think one must read that book as well. Ramdev Agrawal, who is the joint MD of Motilal Oswal, who has mimic Warren Buffett's style of investing in the Berkshire Hathaway, and he has also multiplied his wealth at 30% CAGR for the last 30 years plus, and he has from zero to 2,500 crore is what he's created. And my mantra of investing comes from Ramdev Agrawalji, where Ramdev Agrawalji has said a very good thing, that I invest when I have the money and I take the money when I need the money. Which means if today I make $100 and I don't need that money for the next 5 years, I'm gonna invest it right away. And let's say if I have to go to Paris because I'm not feeling good, or I want to really travel, I need, let's say, for example, $30,000. I go to my portfolio, churn the portfolio, or let's say sell the allocation, use the money and enjoy my money. So unless and until we'll treat this as a retirement basket, because a lot of us treat property as our retirement basket, but if we'll treat equity plot as a retirement basket, we'll have enough amount of money for us to take out every year while we retire. Now, what I'm going to tell you today, economy and stock market goes hand in hand. The only issue with the stock market is it is future driven. So when we saw in 2020, when the economy was shattering, the stock market suddenly started picking up, and it really went high. And a lot of people have exited in last December thinking, now what will happen? So there's a guy called Ken Fisher. I don't know how many of you know Philip Fisher and Ken Fisher. Philip Fisher wrote a book called Scuttlebutt. His son Ken Fisher is a brilliant fund manager. This company, Ken Fisher, in October when I was cycling on Jumeirah Beach, and I have this habit of listening to these people to understand, and he said, no way stock market is going to crash right away, because in October also last year people thought the stock market has run a lot, and his prediction came absolutely correct. His reading came correct. Rather, I will say reading. I am again repeating, we're not in the game of predicting. We're in the game of studying and reading, and we have all the right to reserve to go wrong. Now, Ken Fisher has pointed me to the economic data, which is there are 3 types of data. One is the leading economic indicator, the second is the coincidental, and third is the lagging economic indicator. And the most important for us is leading economic indicators. You all are in business. I'm sure you all can see that today, if a client of yours wants, let's say, switches, or he wants, for example, let's say sheets, metal sheets, we are not able to deliver on time. So there is a huge demand and there's a huge supply backlog. So economic activity is absolutely at very, very high, and we're unable to meet those demands. Now, economic indicators are going to give us insight into the patterns and the trends of economy. They're also going to point to understand what is happening now and what is going to happen in the future. Now, this data are released by the government, non-profit organizations, and universities. And the US is the one of the most famous economy where every week people read data like employment number, the non-farm payroll, the insurance claims, etc., etc. I don't think so in India we really are so keen about it, but let's look into it. Now, three type of indicator I just told you. Now, lagging indicators are basically they are only known after the event has occurred. So you cannot know this in advance because they are, for example, I lost my job. So you will only come to know after 3 months, because today if my customer is not giving me orders, my boss will come and say, Bhuvan, we don't need you. And then he will fire me, but he has to pay me 3 months or 6 months or 1 month salary. So only after 3 months, I will go and claim the insurance. So if somebody fires me, it is not a leading or coincident indicator. It is a lagging indicator. Now, what is coincident indicator? These are analyzed and used as they occur. Key numbers that have a substantial impact on the overall economy. These are like coincidental indicator. By the time you will know it, the stock market would have already crashed, or the economy would have already crashed, or it will be in recession. Now, most important for us are the leading indicators, which are gonna lead us to the what is happening in the future, because we all are investing for future. Now this is how we will see what are the leading indicators, and they are changed substantially. One or two indicators have changed in the past. I also want to touch upon briefly on something called lipstick indicator. I think some Senate has talked about it. It's an interesting thing. So when people buy, or let's say ladies buy a lot of lipsticks, lipstick comes into luxury goods. And when I cannot afford, or I, let's say, I'm not confident about the economy, I will still want to buy the luxury goods, but I will buy small luxury goods. So if the lipstick sales increase, it means that the economy or the stock market might go down. So I'm not a, I don't know anybody who's selling these cosmetics, but that could also be a good indicator. You can read about it. Now, coming to the 10 indicators, which is given on the conference board website, I will take you to the website where you can find all this. And in 1 minute, you can see whether in the next 3 months stock market is crashing or not. Don't take it with a pinch of salt. It is a very good indicator. It is a very good website. Having said that, you need to also allocate a lot of time on your portfolio, because at the end of the day, your company should be, you should invest for long term. You should not be doing buy and sell every 3 months or 6 months. So there is a saying that if you have spent 3 hours reading the macro, 2 hour 55 minutes are absolutely waste. So majority of my time goes in reading my companies and not into these. But when we do all this with you, we also get to know and increase our knowledge. A lot of us are putting so much attention to the macros, and we are not looking into the micros. But if you start getting into depth, I'm sure our investing journey will be much better. Now, coming to the leading economic indicator, the first one is interest rate spread. Now, what is interest rate spread? Now, you know that interbank rate is also there. That's called Fed fund rate, and there is something called 10-year treasury bonds. A lot of you know the 10-year bonds, corporate bonds. So when US government or any government borrows for 10-year, that's called 10-year treasury bond. And when banks lend each other overnight, that's called Fed fund rate. So interest rate spread is basically the difference of 10-year treasury bond and the Fed fund rate. Now, obviously, as the maturity increases, you should get more interest from the government or from the corporate if the economy is absolutely in the right shape. But if the short term rates are higher and the long term rates are lower, which means that economy has no cash, or economy doesn't have too much of cash or liquidity. In 2009, I repeat this to a lot of you because you invest in property. 2009, anybody can tell me what was the mortgage rate for a moment of 6 to 7 months and what was the fixed deposit rate? I'll pause here to take your question, or sorry, take your answer. What was the fixed deposit rate in after the crash of stock market in 2008, and what was the mortgage rate in 2008 after the stock market crash? Any one of you who has himself faced this? Any one of you? Okay, I'll answer this. 6% was a fixed deposit rate. I booked 5 million dirham at 6% for 6 months. And ENBD, Emirates NBD was charging 9% on the mortgage for one of my customer. That was the situation of the economy when this 2008 crisis happened. So interest rate spread is very clear. When the yield curve, now there is something called a yield curve. I don't know how many of you can see it. I will actually show you on the screen itself. So as long as the yield curve is upward sloping, that's fine. But if it is inverted, which means there is a possibility that economy is not doing well. We should not go into detail. We will just focus on the one of this parameter, that this is also taken into consideration while figuring out where the economy is heading. The second is building permits. Obviously, very simple. If new houses are not being constructed, it means the economy is in doldrums. But if people are going and the contractors are taking the new permits, or the people who are developing property, they are taking new permits and creating new private houses, which is basically leading that economy is doing good. Third thing is very important, and it is morely about the small business, more about small business. If number of small businesses opening up are more as compared to the last month, it is also popping up that the GDP is going to increase because small businesses contribute significantly to GDP. So that's also a leading indicator. If these three are positive, I think it is leading us that stock market might not crash. Let's move forward to the three. There we have total 10 indicators. The next one is manufacturers' new orders, non-defense capital goods excluding aircraft orders. Now, what is non-defense capital goods? Any good which can produce more goods or services is called capital goods. For example, tractor, farm equipment. It could be a car. And in the balance sheet, this comes under the fixed asset. So all the manufacturers will come to know beforehand, before the trader or before the wholesaler or retailer, what is happening. So if the manufacturers' new orders are increasing, barring the aircraft and the defense sector, it is also a positive sign. If it is other way around, it's a negative sign. The next one is the leading credit index. It is a little bit complex, but it is saying a very simple thing. If the overall banks are not lending, then it's a bad sign. But if the banks are lending, the credit index goes down, and then it is a positive sign for the economy. This is a very complex one. I don't want to discuss here. It is mixture of six this thing, but you have to remember only one thing. When the LCI, the leading credit index, is negative, the LEI is positively affected. And we are looking at right now whether total, including all these indicators, LEI is positive or negative. And every month we can know this on 23rd. So every month you can relax if you can know this on 23rd, whether it is totally as a sum growing or it is not growing. If it is growing, just take a blanket and chill, or go for a holiday. Your stock market 99% should not crash. Again, I'm saying this is all related to your portfolio also, because you might have a company which is very highly overvalued, so that this indicators cannot help you. Stock prices, a very good sign. You don't even have to go to all this unless and until stock prices are moving up. So if I ask you in the last 10 days or 15 days, the stock index is going up or down, if it is going up, all these indicators are of no use. chill. But it is only when the stock prices are not going up, then you have to look at that what's happening to the other 9 1. And then there is a website where you can go and check either they are positive or they are negative. If they are not positive, then there could be a worry which might happen in the next 3 to 6 months. So that's stock prices. Now, average consumer expectation for business condition. This this is a very important thing. So they do a survey every month and ask all the consumers that how do you think the business conditions are. So in this delta variant, a lot of business conditions have gone worsen. So maybe in the last month, this is not gone positive, this has gone down. So this is one indicator which also tells you how are the business conditions. Next, average weekly initial claim for unemployment insurance. Now this happens in the US. I don't think so it is available in the UAE, or I don't know if it is there in India or not. But people who can work, who are worthy of doing work, and the moment they have been told to leave, they will file for a unemployment insurance. And if that claim falls, it means they are employed. And this is also a leading economic indicator. This is a very important indicator called ISM index of new orders. You can simplify this as purchasing producer index. The person who is producing and the supplier who is supplying, are they getting new orders? So it is also made of some more what do you call indices. So a thumb rule is, if it is expanding and is greater than 50, the economy is expanding. If it is less than 50, it indicates that the economy is contracting. So that's how simple thing you need to remember. You don't have to do all this. I'll further simplify it, but obviously people who would like to go in detail like me, they should have a knowledge about it. The next one is average weekly hours manufacturing. Very good indicator. This indicator says, so let's say I have more orders and now I have backlog. What will I do? I will tell all my guys to work overtime and I will pay them, or you will pay them. So average weekly hours in manufacturing, if they're going up, it's a positive sign for economy. This is also a leading indicator. Now we are done with all the 10 economic indicators. Let me go back and revise before we move further. I think we have plenty of time. We are half an hour only. There are 3 types of economic indicators: leading, coincidental, and lagging indicators. The most important for us are the leading economic indicators. The sum of the leading economic indicators, the data is released every day on the Conference Board website. We will go to the Conference Board website shortly. What are the leading indicators? They are interest rate spread, basically the long-term borrowing rate of the government with the overnight borrowing rate between the bank, the building permits, which is the new private housing, number of new small businesses, manufacturers' new orders, barring non-defense and aircraft, leading credit index, how is the credit situation in the economy, stock prices, which is very easy for all of us to understand, average consumer expectation for business conditions, either they're improving or they're not. For example, the world was not allowing travel, so definitely the business conditions were worsening, but now everyone is promoting travel. Lockdowns are not heard of at least in the last 1 week or 2 weeks, which means that the consumer expectation for business conditions are improving. The next one is average weekly initial claim for unemployment insurance. The supplier and the producers index, which is called ISM index of new orders. Average weekly hours manufacturing. Are the workers in the factory doing overwork or less work? We are done with all the economic indicators. Now let's look at the economic indicators. There's something called retail sales index, which is a economic indicator, the leading economic indicator versus the stock market. If you see, somehow you will find that the chart on the left and the chart on the right are going hand in hand. The chart on the right is a little bit ahead of the chart in the left. So if you see, you are getting, every time you will find that there is enough time for you to act, because retail sales will first go down before people go and sell their shares. Let's understand how stock market crashes. It's all fear and greed. When I'm greedy, I will buy any stock at any price. When I'm fearful, I will sell the stock, whether even it is Apple or Google, I'll sell it. What does that mean? Means I'm not feeling good. When do I not feel good? When I don't, I'm not happy. I don't have a job. I am, let's say, for example, I have been told to, what do you call, so I don't have job, I don't have money, I have bank loan, my mortgage rates have increased. These are the situation when I will sell the stock because I have the biggest liquidity coming from the stock market. So this is what one graph is telling us. Now the second graph. Second graph, this is a very important graph. Now let me pick one of you because I think I need a volunteer here. Uh, Lalitji, are you okay if I talk to you? Hello? Hello? Anybody else? Any volunteer? Mayank, are you okay if I talk to you? Hello?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So, Mayank, can you see the chart? And before, see if you can see the gray line, these gray lines are recessions. All the gray straight lines, they are recession.
I'm unable to hear your voice.
Is it? Am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Mayank, I'm audible, I believe.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Audible,
Okay,
sir, audible.
Okay, let me take Lalitji also and Mayank. So Lalitji, can you see that these all gray lines are recession when the stock market has crashed? Yes? So
Yeah.
giving to example, let's say 2009,
Hello?
you have 2002, 2003 recession. Now, before the recession, if you see all the composite index of the 10 leading indicator, which is growing straight month on month, is actually not growing and going down. Can you see the slope, sir?
Yeah.
So the slope is telling you months in advance that market is going to not do good or the economy is not going to do good. You can check it, sir, in all the charts you can check it. And now you can, on the small box down, last 12 months, it is growing vis-a-vis the previous month. If you go and check on the top also, this particular chart, the last line, I think I'll have an annotation here. If you see this part, it is still growing. It is not going down. The slope is not down. So this tells us that next 3 months to 6 months, the stock market is not crashing. Any question here?
Not really, Boon.
Okay, let's move to the next slide. Yes. Now this is basically 1 minute. Now this is giving you a lead time that before the recession, when the leading economic index peaks. So 1 month to 20 months, if you make it an average of this, maybe this will come to 6 to 7 months. Month before, or let's say 6 to 7 months before, the leading economic index will stop growing, and then you'll have recession. Any question? Let me do the next slide. Now, here we are taking into consideration the leading economic indicator and the coincidental economic indicator both. Now, hear me out, it's very important. You see, the growth of the leading economic indicator is coinciding with the CEI, which is the coincidental economic indicator before the crash. So if you see the last part, it is right now. So let me ask Lalitji, is it converging or diverging on the last, the blue line and the green line?
I can't see it probably because it's a small screen. It's
okay. Mayank, can you see it? Is it converging or diverging?
Diverging.
Diverging. Can you see before the crash, it is diverging everywhere. Everywhere it is giving you, sorry, 1 second. Everywhere it is giving you enough time, and the LEI is diverging to CEI. Are you with me, Mayank? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, guys, I think I'm last slide. And this is nothing but the last slide's ratios. So they divided the LEI of that month to CEI and they calculate the ratios, and the ratio gives you a very good picture. Whenever you see the ratio going down, then downwards, you should be careful and the recession is coming or the economy is not going to do good. Look at it. Every time the recession is coming, the ratio is going towards from 1.2 to towards, let's say, less than 1. Every time this is happening, you have this in front of you. You can check. So slope number 1, you can check. I think I will stay here for at least 10 to 20 seconds. Any question? And you have so 5 months, 8 months, if you can average all of these. So 9 plus 2 is 11 plus 7, 18, and 22 is 20, and 25 and 30, 38 and 5, 43. Divide by, let's say, 10 periods roughly, which is roughly 4.5 months before we'll come to know whether the stock market is gonna crash or the economy is worsening. So I feel that it is very well and very simple to understand. Let's repeat a little bit and let's summarize, and then I'll take you to the website. So we discussed all the leading economic indicator. We discussed that because people can't sell if the stock market, if the economy is doing good, people will not just sell because they want to sell. Because if the sale is growing every month or every quarter, all the companies are, or major companies are beating the analyst consensus. If they're beating the analyst consensus, people are putting the money in the stock market. People buy more when the stock market is going up, and they buy less when the stock market is going down. I'm talking about the general public. So that's how you saw that both the right and the left charts are going hand in hand. The next slide is what I showed. Please mute. So the next slide we are showing. 1 minute. Let me mute everyone. Yeah. So the next slide is showing us that month before, every time from 1959, every time the leading economic indicator's slope is going downwards, which is not happening right now. So we don't have to worry about a stock market crash. Every time it is going downwards before the stock market or the economy crashes. This one is telling us how many months it has taken before the growth on the LEI. This is the growth actually. The growth on LEI has peaked. So we saw that roughly 5 to 6 months before the growth on the LEI becomes very, very small, and then it goes downward, and then you have a stock market crash. Then we took a benefit of we took a support of the coincidental economic indicator, and we draw a chart of all of them with the leading economic indicator, and we saw that when they are diverging, when the leading economic indicator is diverging towards because obviously the coincidental economic indicator will take time to go down, it will be going up only, and the LEI will start converging to the CEI, and that is the time you should be very much cautious or worried that stock market might crash, and you should be prepared to put in more money, because I always tell people, don't be dip, buy the dip. Now here we saw that the both lines are not diverging, they are not converging, but they are diverging. Now the next slide, same thing in the last slide has been converted as a ratio, and whenever the ratio is going downward and not upward, this is telling us that the stock market might crash. Now friends, I want to tell this to you. We all have in us a problem of timing the market. Believe me, this market doesn't work as the property and gold. As we take property and gold every day, every month, I have investors who buy property every month, and I have heard that I think some project has been launched, and people were fighting, and they were like they wanted the piece of the property which is not even created. In fact, newspaper just reported last week that it is the off-land properties are beating the fully constructed properties. Is it not leverage? Don't you think that you are doing a leverage by buying a property which is not even constructed? It's a dream. You're just buying by paying 10%, but after giving 40%, and if you lose your job or business, how will you pay? How will you pay? So this is what is happening right now. I agree, but these are the problems. So basically, we are the biggest problem. But when we come to the stock market, this theory doesn't work. In the stock market, if you're buying a brand, even at a 20, 30, 40% premium, you're still gonna make money because you're buying a brand. But let me ask you a question. Property is a brand or it's a commodity? Any one of you can answer.
It's a commodity.
Thank you. So if it's a commodity, how will you make money?
Only if the overall market goes up.
So
The
you will
demand goes up.
absolutely. You'll make money in commodity only when you'll buy low or sell high. And if it is not regulated by only manipulating. So when gold was not regulated, people were uh, smuggling it, right? When property in India was not regulated, people were sending money from here to India, and every 4 5 months the money was getting doubled. Or let's say in Dubai, the same thing was happening. But now property is regulated. The commodity called property, commodity called gold, commodity called diamond is regulated. Now the only way to make money is that time the cycle. But stock market is not commodity. In the stock market, if you're buying Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, the companies which have a great pricing power, and they are not giving you a single day credit, you're paying them in advance. They increase their prices and you can't even do anything. You'll not believe one company has charged me on my credit card 50 dirham last month. I don't even remember which company is. I would have subscribed to something. I have to go and check which company it is. That is the fundamental business model of these great companies. That credit card which you all have got, they are using that to run the business cash. These companies are absolutely okay even if you are at a bubble after, let's say, 2008 or 2020, but all depends when you have bought it. So when you are buying a brand, you don't have to time the market necessarily, or give it to a portfolio manager who can do this for you. Now, here I sum up my presentation. I will now also talk about quantity easing. Now, there is something called tapering tantrum. A lot of people think that tapering is gonna take the liquidity out of the market, and this is gonna be contractionary, and this will take the stock market down. I will give you a thought of Ken Fisher. When we do quantitative easing, it is not a stimulus. It is deflationary. It is contractionary. It is not expansionary, because you are bringing the interest rate spread down. When you bring the interest rate spread down, the main pillar of all the economy is banking sector. And banking sector is happy when the spreads are good, because that is their operating margin. But if you bring interest rate down, and how much can you bring it down from there? It is a very less incentive for a bank to lend. But so I just want to tell you that think about it, that quantitative easing is not stimulus. And many sophisticated investors have gone wrong. And time people think that tapering is bad for the economy or the stock market. Bond market, it is bad. But for the stock market, it is very good, because once the tapering will start and interest rate will go up, it will give incentive on the supply side dynamics to the bank to lend. And once they'll start lending, and I'm sure all of us know that this is not a banking crisis this time. Last time was a banking crisis, but this is, their banks are fully capitalized. They are sitting with a lot of capital. This is a time for bank to lend. So tapering is gonna be expansionary. It is gonna take the stock market to the new highs, and how and when we will all see. So that's my thought on the quantitative easing and tapering. Now, time to go to the website of Conference Board and see in a very simple number, because you might be thinking I've got too technical today. Believe me, I don't want to be, but definitely studies are important if you're investing in the stock market. Now, I believe all of you can see my screen. Now, this is Conference Board website, and if you can see my screen, can anybody volunteer? Mayank or Lalitji, can you please read this particular part I give me a minute and I'll take you there. So every 23rd, they release the data, and now we're going to just read this part. Any one of you would like to read? I'll be very happy if you'll participate.
Hi, Bhuvan. I'm happy to read. If you can zoom a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I'm trying that actually. 1 minute. Zoom in. Yeah. Yeah.
It says the Conference Board leading economic index for the US increased by 0.9% in August to 117.1, following a 0.8% increase in July and a 0.6% in June. The US LEI rose sharply in August and remains on a rapidly rising trajectory, said Ataman Oziel-Drim, Senior Director of Economic Research at the Conference Board. While the Delta variant, alongside rising inflation fears, could create headwinds for labor markets and the consumer spending outlook in the near term, the trend in the LEI is consistent with robust economic growth in the remainder of the year. Real GDP growth for 2021 is expected to reach 6% year over year before easing to a still robust 4% for 22.
Thank you. That's it. So if you look at the overall LEI has increased by 0.9% in August. We're in September right now. We can only get last month data. In the October, we'll get the September data. And if the data is doing good and it is increasing, you don't have to worry about the stock market for the next 3 months. Here, I think I'm done with my presentation. The Conference Board website is right in front of you. This is being recorded. You can see it while on the move. I will now take some questions. I have been asked, the data you are referring to, is this applicable to any and all markets or only US market? The question in front of me is, the data which I'm referring to is applicable for the US market or for all the market? Good question, very nice question. So this was being showed to you for the US. You can see all the data you want for Europe, Asia, China, Gulf, or India. So you can choose the country you want to, and you can look at their data, because every country has a different way of calculating the leading economic indicator. So I was referring to the US. Let me also tell you about Evergrande crisis here. Do you have any idea what is the ratio of the China property prices vis-a-vis your annual income? The ratio is 40. So the property prices of the China are so high that you have to earn 40 times to own the property and clear your mortgage. And in the Asian society, when a boy gets married, it is required that he should have his own property. So Chinese investor is not in the stock market. This is all US money. And that's why when China has cracked down, all the US investors have pulled the plug because they are not confident. And that's why Chinese stock market is right now available at a discount. So the point I'm trying to tell you is that US market largely drive the liquidity across the world because they have zero interest rate and they want to have good yield, and they invest in all the market. Having said that, China and India also picked up, but the biggest stock market, let me ask you a question. What is the market cap of the US stock market, and what is the next market cap of any other market? The market cap of the US stock market versus the second best stock market in the world.
I think US is $460 billion.
Okay. By the way, let me tell you, okay, so 460 billion is very, very less number.
Trillion.
I think it's 20 trillion US, and the next, yeah,
is 51 trillion, and the next market is 13 trillion. So you can imagine the kind of money which US can pump in any society or any country or any economy or in the stock market. So US is itself is one of the biggest investor. So we have to focus on the US data, but let's say you want to look at the India data, you have the website, you can look into it. Let me go to the next question. How do you account for the stock market doing well in the pandemic with decreased economic activity? Okay, I think I've already answered. So you have a very good question. Let me also show you some stocks which are not doing good. Any stock shown here is not a recommendation to buy or sell. There's a company called RT Source Portfolio Solution SA. It's a US based company. And if you see a 5-year chart, the company is only losing money. So a gentleman who asked me the question that how do you account for the stock market doing well? So first of all, stock market is an average. There are some sectors doing great. There are some sectors not doing great. Overall, if you look at the weightage today, the IT companies are having more weightage on the stock market index as compared to any other industry. And these companies, because of their technology innovation and because of the way we are able to communicate today, everybody sitting at home having a cup of tea and having this Zoom webinar. But if the same Zoom webinar or sorry, same seminar would have been organized, minimum expenditure would have been $10,000 to $20,000 in a hotel, because you have to also take care of the guests and give them food and the drinks, etc. Now, IT companies are dominating the index right now. IT companies are not the indicator of the whole economy. Having said that, majority of the economy is doing good right now. Only people who are still giving credit, they have a lot of debt, they don't know what to do with the debt. People who are not able to sell exclusive product or pricing, they are right now not making money. Now, this stock has not done well when we saw the stock market all-time high. Now, when I show you a 10-year chart, now look at, sorry, max chart I'll show you. Now look at it. If somebody would have invested in 2008 or 9 at 10 to 15, $20, he would have ended up making $169, which is roughly 18 to 10 times in a mere 5 years. So in the stock market, it is not important how well the index is doing. What is important is what is available at a discounted price and what is the story behind it. Because copper prices have gone up, the iron price just now they have gone down, but they have gone up in 1 or 2 years. So one has to understand the supply demand economics or dynamics of that particular industry. So you cannot categorize stock market by index. Dr. Vijay Kedia himself has said it's a very bad way of looking in the stock market. There are many other companies I can show you which have shattered from the top to bottom. We have our own one company. I'll show you this company which we have in our portfolio. I really take pleasure to show you a company which is not doing good, because you know our returns now this year, but you should also know that we are not making money everywhere. So this company 1 year return is 71%. But if somebody had invested with me and I would have invested his money in this stock at $100, today also he is not making money. So where stock market is doing good, we have a company in our portfolio. I am not even discussing others' portfolio, which is not making money for people who came to us at 106. Now, obviously, these people will not be happy, but I can promise you and I can tell you they have finished 1 year with us, their overall return is 28%. So the stock market dynamics are absolutely different. I don't know, this company would have been today maybe at 300 also. Now, stock market does not work on a linear fashion. That's the answer. The third question is, I didn't get the question. Only if you have real asset in your hand and market supports you. Okay. I think I am done with the questions you have posted. Now, if you want to ask questions, the floor is open. I think we have roughly 4 minutes. So please feel free to ask any questions you have which can make you a better investor or me a better investor. Any questions you have?
Bhuvanji, hi Ashish.
Hello, sir. How are you?
All well, all good. Thank you for all the information. It was good. Really good to know. A lot of questions which were there, which is resolved. I want to know your opinion. What is your opinion when you see the graph down? What you will do? Since we all are invested with you, what is your position? Answer one, stay invested. Answer 2, you will say put more. But if we don't have more funds to put, okay, when the market is dipped, then what is your opinion to do? We have to wait and watch, or we have to exit?
Okay. As we rightly said that when you are into commodity companies, you should exit. Or you are into commodity, you have to exit. But if you are into branded companies, we should not exit. Just to, since you have spoken about the portfolio, you know, one more company has gone down 50%, which is the darling you always like to invest in that company. In fact, two of them are down today. The question to you is actually, I will ask you a counter question. Have you invested when they dipped? No.
We
Right?
given to you. Simple. We
No.
have given funds to you to
So you have
invest.
given to me, but I was like, have you invested when they dipped? The question
No.
is, are you in the game of making 10 times, or are you in the game of making 10%? So I spoke to Chris Mayer also, who's one of the very good investor and he's a writer, and he told me we are in a game of creating 10x returns in 10 to 15 years. And if that is the case, we cannot sell companies when they become 20-30% overvalued, and then we will not buy them just because they have become 20-30% undervalued. We have to be in the game, and we have to definitely see that these companies' business are doing good or not. So very frankly, on Stitch Fix, even I did not know what is going to happen. The new CEO has come. The only warning sign that the new CEO has come and the founder CEO has become chairman. But what was the most important thing is the people who are backing this company, who are the ex Uber VCs, they did not exit. And this person is also coming from a very good company, a very good background, and she has so it's all about chasing the story of the stock, sir. Now what I will do, I'll tell you. I am already done what I have to do. You know it very well. Coming to what we are making right now is only from 3 companies. 50% of our portfolio is already undervalued. So first of all, at the 28% return, we are sitting with 40% of our portfolio which is undervalued. So what I will do is, at a right time, when I will see the cash flows are not doing well for these companies, the commodity companies, because actually this was a commodity super cycle. And now there could be a gold super cycle. If it doesn't work, fine. If it works, you don't have to really bother about the returns. Now I've already hedged the portfolio by buying the counter cyclical company. Hedging doesn't mean that I will not make money when the market will go down or up. I will make up tons of money when the market will go down because I have bought something called counter cyclical industry company. But if market doesn't fall, I'll still make the money because this is not a commodity, it's a commodity company. I have bet on the management. It's a value stock, it's a growth stock in the value territory. So I will be selling the part of the portfolio which is going to be overvalued, which cannot be kept for the next 10 years. And I am going to invest in the companies which are attractively available for me to be for the next 10 years. That's what I'm going to do in a simple language. But I am not going to sit down on cash of 50-40%.
So
None of my presidents have done that.
So, but when you see the graph going down, you are not going to take the profit and stay in cash to fall completely and then buy.
Right. So I will not sell the whole portfolio. Think about this way. Let's say you are in the US right now. And if you sell your companies, you will attract 30% tax, or let's say short-term tax of 30%. Will you then sell it? Because you know how in India people do it. When they buy a property and after 5 years they are selling a property, and these guys come and say, oh, you have this tax. So they go and buy the real estate bond instead of giving that money to equity. But here in Dubai or in the region where tax is not there, we become a trader because we do not have taxation. So we have to start thinking as an entrepreneur, and we should not, because if you start timing on the down cycle, then you'll also time the up cycle, and then you will never have a multi-bagger. If I would have cut Denos at 2 or 3 multiple, today you would have been telling me paisa hi nahi banaya sal. So I will not be sitting at 50% cash. There will be some strategic cash so that I can buy more, whether investor give more money or not. But The only fundamental mantra which I showed you in the Excel sheet is to remain invested, but in the companies which can sustain these cycles.
Right.
Any other question? Most welcome. So I think we're done with the today's session. Thanks for participating. I hope I could clear the doubts. If you have any question, please write to us. We want to learn and we want to spread this message that investing is a great science and a great art. It is partly art, partly science. I'll meet you soon with Chris Mayer, and we'll come to know that why he does not look at the macro economic features, why he focus on the great companies and hold on to the companies. Chris Mayer has made roughly 30% return this year. For the last 20 years and on, he's writing an article, and the returns of the portfolio on the newsletters is basically 16% on an average. He has written 4 books. He works he works on his own. There is no one to support him, and we look up to him to learn a lot. We'll also ask him how does he choose companies, and exactly where does he see. Believe me, there are brilliant companies today which are not even affected what's happening into the economy because their inside economy is absolutely great. So with that, I'll see you soon on the floor. Have a great day and thank you for joining. Thanks to Client First Capital team for making a wonderful presentation, successful. Thanks to the media team. Thanks to Shilpa. Thanks to all the relationship manager of Client First Capital who have put in a lot of effort to bring you guys on board. Hope we are making some progress in your investing life, and we are and you find us honest and ethical when it comes to investing. Have a great day.
Thank you.